Yokai. Mythical Japanese spirits, entities, or monsters. In Japanese traditions and legends, there are hundreds of unique yokai and many types of yokai. If you live outside Japan, you probably don't know much about the various yokai legends. However, most people know of a few famous ones, such as Kappa, the water-dwelling, half-human, half-turtle-like creature who likes to eat cucumbers. The Japanese food kappamaki gets its name from this yokai. Another famous one is Kawahime, or the River Princess. And today, you are all about to get introduced to 100 more yokai from Japan. This is the epic story of the Yokai Daisensou, or the Great Yokai War. Yokai Daisensou is a 2005 Japanese fantasy film directed by Takashi Miike. Our legend starts out with a young boy having a nightmare about an apocalyptic event in Tokyo with the city in ruins. The boy, Tadashi, who used to live in Tokyo, now lives with his divorced mother and grandfather in the countryside. I'm getting never-ending story vibes here. We also get introduced to the movie's main villain, Kato, and his assistant, Agi, who is also a yokai. Amazingly played by the lovely Kuriyama Chiaki, who you might recognize as the girl who also played the young Japanese girl named Gogo in the movie Kill Bill. Yep, same girl. They are starting up a mysterious factory surrounded by junk and debris, all things that were thrown away by humans. Kato's evil plot is to use all the essence of hatred from the junk that was thrown away by humans and mix it with yokai. Apparently, the things thrown away have rage and anger against humans, and so by adding a yokai to the essence of rage with a pile of junk, he can create a massive metal monstrosity. Incidentally, the crazy and wild metallic monstrosities in this movie are pretty creative and quite creepy. Even though this film may look almost like a child's fairy tale movie, and it even has a child main character, there is actually quite a bit of horror here, with scenes probably not appropriate for children that can easily have nightmares, because these metal monsters are what nightmares are born from. Tadashi visits a local shrine to check out a festival for the small town he now lives in. Apparently, during the festival, if the Kirin bites you, then you are chosen as the Kirin Rider. Not to be confused with Kamen Rider. And of course, this is what happens to Tadashi. Didn't see that coming at all. Apparently, the one who's chosen as the Kirin Rider must go pick up the legendary sword from the Goblin's Cave and use it to defeat evil when the world is threatened. Kato begins using his monsters to round up and capture various yokai to power his metallic army and starts attacking people as well. Yes, this movie is not for children. A little Sune Kosuri yokai escapes and meets up with Tadashi. If you ever wondered what that odd rubbing sensation that you get is on your shin or leg, that sometimes feels like wind, that's actually a yokai called Sune Kosuri. Tadashi builds up his courage and ventures a trip to the Goblin Cave to fulfill the legend of the Kirin Rider. As he arrives, several yokai test him to see if he has the courage to be a hero. We get introduced to some of the most famous yokai in Japanese legends. The lovely Kawahime, or River Princess. Of course, the previously mentioned Kappa. And this red guy. The lantern with eyes and the long tongue, and even the very famous yokai of a woman in a kimono who has the long snake-like neck. Now, there's no way for me to introduce or explain the legends of each and every yokai in this movie, because there are hundreds of them in Japanese legend, so I will just try to point out the most famous ones. Our heroes arrive at the Goblin Cave after going through some Indiana Jones traps. The Goblin King gives the sword to Tadashi, but then Kato's machines attack. That chainsaw looks pretty nasty. I don't think Sune Kosuri, the sock puppet, has a chance. Yeah, I know he's cute. He's still just a sock puppet though. The inexperienced Tadashi tries to fight them off, as the sword can move on its own to attack as long as he is holding it. However, they are overpowered. The sword is broken by Agi, and the Goblin King and Sune Kosuri are taken prisoner to further power Kato's machine army. Well, isn't this a convenient form of communication, if not disturbing? All the yokai, realizing something is up and that many of them are being kidnapped, organize an emergency meeting. Here you can see many of the famous yokai, such as the Yuki Onna, or Snow Woman, the umbrella yokai, the Azuki bean cleaning yokai, the one that looks like a long sheet. And yes, there is even a wall yokai who is just a wall. With the legendary sword broken and the only yokai smithy able to reforge it a prisoner of Kato, the yokai decide that he is too dangerous and powerful, and so they all decide to retreat, leaving our small group of heroes to fight alone.
ちょっと脅かしてくれって言うから首かしただけさ。
Meanwhile, Kato raises up his metalworks factory on a giant beast to head to Tokyo for the aforementioned apocalypse that the boy saw in his dream. And no, it's not riding Gamera, but hey, it's a good reference. Sune Kosuri helps the smithy yokai to escape, but sadly undergoes some sock puppet torture, and he gets thrown into the junk machine with the others. The smithy meets up with Tadashi and helps to reforge the sword, while all the yokai of Japan sense something big is happening in Tokyo. The word gets out and they all head to Tokyo thinking it is a giant festival going on. Now that is a lot of yokai. Upon arrival in Tokyo, Kato's machine monstrosities begin attacking the yokai, and the yokai think it is now a battle festival. And so, the Great Yokai War begins. Yokai versus giant yokai machines. During all the chaos, Tadashi and Kawahime sneak into the facility, where they have to face off against the metallic monster version of Sune Kosuri. Tadashi defeats it, but swears vengeance on Kato for what he did. They face off against Agi, who retreats before the power of the sword, and arrive at the boiler room, where Kato plans to jump into the vat of pure hatred himself, making him an evil god, or something. Tadashi is unable to defeat him, and Kato jumps into the vat. However, the bean cleaning yokai, who had lost some of his beans, was there, and he dropped one of them into the vat with Kato as it closed. Kato had planned on merging with the hatred goo alone. However, because of the bean, he merged with that instead, probably turning him into an Azuki bean, which I would have loved to see. The yokai rejoice as the factory is destroyed. And Tadashi flies away on a kirin as the Kirin Rider. Hold on, did Neverending Story rip this off? Or is it the other way around? The movie ends with Tadashi all grown up, and now unable to see yokai. Sune Kosuri watches over him, and we see a glimpse of Kato, who somehow had survived, with beans in his eyes. This movie is very unique, but can be really hard to understand for a foreigner not familiar with Japanese culture. Seeing all the different types of yokai can be quite interesting, however, and the variety of machine-type enemies is wild. Some of the battles are over the top and the effects are somewhat dated, but watching this movie is still a good time. It has that adventure feel to it, of a small group of heroes setting off to save the world from an evil army. I like that they focus on a select few of the most famous yokai from Japan, and the actors' performances are quite good in this movie. So I recommend checking this out for those of you that are interested in Japanese culture and want to learn a bit more about yokai. And for those who are fans of movies like Neverending Story, although this movie is based off of a very famous novel in Japan, and I'm pretty sure it came first. But hey, check it out sometime. And remember, if you feel that strange brushing sensation on your leg, or if you happen to trip and fall when there's nothing there to trip you, it's probably Sune Kosuri, the sock puppet just wanting to play with you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out my other Japan movie reviews and lots of other great content on this channel about Japan. We'll see you all in the next amazing Japan movie.
川太郎。
気ぃつけや。